Hello, everyone. We are your landlords, flooding and tapping out so that you don't have to, with the occasional screw. My name is Graham. I go by Hamhocks42 on the internet, and I'm joined by the one and only Astralsflame. Astrals, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, Ham. I'm doing good. It was a really nice day today. I got out. I touched grass. I smelled the fresh air. It was plus 12 degrees or 55, depending where you're at. And I had Italian for lunch today, like a brunch lunch, and it was delicious. Went out with some friends, had like some nice bruschetta, double shot of americano and a good pasta, and it's been good. It's been good. I can't say my draws have been better than my brunch, but that's another thing. How about you, my friend? How's your day been?
Hey, no, I'm having a great day actually. I got a chance to actually, I went out for a lovely second breakfast with my daughter, and
Mhm.
she and I hung out for a number of hours. It just played around and had an absolute blast, and I can't ask for anything more than that. So, yeah, no, I also had a fantastic day in the weather here. We had a little bit of a storm this morning, but it's cleared up and it's nice and warm. So, yeah, no complaints. Yeah,
Hey,
spring is in full effect, it would seem, which I'm here for.
and what a
Yeah.
great time for spring to talk about a new listing today. The
Yes.
March of Machines story. The thing that everything has led up to. Your adventures in the multiverse, the travel back in time, the reappearing of Phyrexians, all into the climactic battle that went poof.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's been a lot of criticism about this, and it's funny. One of the things I really enjoy about being, a content creator is just trying to put my opinions out there, and then have random people on the internet tell me I'm an idiot and wrong, which is something that has definitely like there have been, and that's the reason that that's been happening is because a lot of people have a lot of feelings on both sides of the fence here when it comes to this particular story because the Phyrexians are like Magic's oldest villain. They're an absolute classic. Going back to that well is really risky. And on top of that, it was the last time in the Magic story that we saw the villain like unquestionably win.
Yeah, big
Back
time.
I mean, Mirrodin was a beloved plane. And they, when the set New Phyrexia came out, like they just completely took it over. It's like this plane is done. It is ours now. Phyrexia now exists within the multiverse again, and you all just have to deal with it. And that was kind of this terrifying thing that has been sitting out there for a really long time that hasn't really been explored in too much detail since then. And then in Kaldheim, Vornklex shows up, and there's a minute of just like, holy crap, there's a Praetor outside of Phyrexia. That's not good. Like, what is this?
A
And
little bit.
then Yeah, and then that storyline has been escalating over the last few sets. And in individual sets, like we had Kaldheim, where we had Vorinclex show up, and then I know in Neon Dynasty, Ginger Taxis showed up, and
Jin
that's
showed
also
up.
when we saw Tameo get completed. So that was
Yes.
like, oh, and they can get Planeswalkers now. So the stakes were starting to escalate at that point in really cool ways, in very meaningful story beats that took a lot of people for a ride, and myself included. You know,
Yeah, it
um,
hurt. It hurt the heart.
yeah, it hurt. Like this arc was huge for me as a Magic player. Just for a little bit of context of where I'm coming from on this discussion, I played Magic back in the early 2000s. I got into it in 2003, shortly after Scourge released. So I was there when the original Mirrodin dropped, when the original Ravnica dropped, original Kamigawa. Like I had a front row seat for all of that stuff. So as you can imagine, like a lot of the stuff that they're touching on now is very near and dear to my heart. But I took a big chunk of time off. I took like 10 years off the game. And so like for New Phyrexia showing up, I wasn't there for that. All the stuff, like when Innistrad was introduced, I wasn't there for that initially. Like the Eldrazi showing up. I'm learning about all of that in hindsight now. And when I came back, it was like right before War of the Spark dropped. So the Nicol Bolas arc was coming to a conclusion. And I realized like, oh, we have this huge epic battle sequence. Okay, cool. This is going to be interesting. And then when War of the Spark ended up being kind of anticlimactic, it's like here's this moment where our big bad, who's another classic big bad within Magic, who is going to be harvesting the souls of planeswalkers. Like that's his objective. Like how are any of our beloved characters safe? If that's the goal, and that's what he's doing, and he's doing it effectively, I
Very,
might add,
very.
but according to every indicator. I mean, heck, the basic lands in War of the Sparks show
Oh yeah.
sparks flying through the air, like the sky is like full of sparks that have all been sucked out of a planeswalker somewhere, allegedly. So, and then in the end, like, well, what happened? It's like, well, how many planeswalkers did we actually lose? Like, we lost Gideon and we lost Dak.
Yeah, and Dak. Justice for Dak.
Justice for Dak. I'm telling you, man. Like,
He
yeah,
did not deserve that.
he didn't deserve it, but at the same time, I'm not even mad that he died. And because
Yeah.
that's a weird thing that I'm coming from. Like,
No, I agree.
the
That's
story
fair.
beat of this interesting character meeting their end, like at a tragically young age in an unfortunate way, that can be a very interesting story beat.
Absolutely.
The fact that Dak didn't even get a card in the set, that's ridiculous. Like,
Dak had one printing. It was sweet. It saw play in a legacy format, and then, well, that's
yeah,
it. No more Dak.
even if they had just reprinted Dak from, it was Conspiracy that he showed up in originally, right? Like,
Yes, it was.
they could have taken him and like just even reprinted that exact same card into Standard with new art in
Yeah.
Ravnica or something. That would have been fine. Or I don't know how that would have balanced in that Standard.
Might have been banned. It was a good walker, but
Yeah, okay, that might have been a
agreed.
problem. But yeah, well, and then they easily could have reimagined him even as one of the uncommon walkers. Like in a
Yeah.
set where they literally put a planeswalker in every single pack. Dak was the big story beat, and he didn't get a card. It was like that was a failure of storytelling that was really frustrating because
Yeah.
we saw him get iced in the trailer, which was beautiful. Like they did a great job with that, and that was an emotional moment. But I don't know about you, but like when I watched that trailer, it's like, oh, that dude's got a goatee. Oh man, he just got wrecked. Who was that? Like I
Yeah.
had a moment of just like he's almost this background character, and you see his spark get sucked out of him. It's like, oh, that sucks. Like, oh, dude, that's bad for him. But he didn't really give the gravitas of that character.
No, agreed.
And so,
Definitely agreed.
but anyway, we're not here to talk about War of the Spark. We're here to talk about March of the Machine. I feel like
Which
there are a
is
lot of
still-
similarities.
There is. I was gonna say, like the feelings of like War of the Spark for how that story went definitely feel the same for how March of the Machines went. I mean, I'll come from the opinion I liked a good chunk of how March of the Machines went. There are key distinct notes I wasn't a big fan of. I mean, for me, top 3 moments I wasn't like, all the Praetors really just got hit like early on. Planeswalker reversal thing, like that was weird to me. I expected more casualty, and it seems like all the realms are actually fine. I expected some of the planes to actually, feel the brunt of Phyrexia and not be like, oh, we've successfully repelled the invasion, which I guess like the whole what the story beat was Phyrexia maybe had all these incubation and members and rulers and minions, but it wasn't enough to actually attack on every plane. So forces to fight, like, okay, I get it, but like still, like, couldn't have at least one plane who just succumbed to the oil? Like,
You'd think, right?
couldn't we have had more casualty? And not that I'm saying like casualties are a good thing, but like, story time wise, where's the negative?
And that's the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, yes, casualties are a good thing if you're trying to tell a moving story with stakes. That's and it's funny. People are like, "Oh, are you like you just want all these characters to be dead?" It's like, no, I don't want them to be dead, but I want impact. I want weight, and in order for there to be weight and stakes and impact in a story, sometimes characters need to die.
Absolutely.
In this type of story, anyway. Like sometimes characters need to die, and they need to stay dead.
Yes.
Which
yes.
is something that a lot of these like corporate stories struggle with, because it's just like, and I know Marvel is notorious for this, and as well, but the truth is all comic books do this.
It's true.
Where it's just like there's this character and like they gave this heroic sacrifice. Like I'm gonna say, how many times has Superman died? And how many times has DC tried to make that a huge deal that we're supposed to like care, and like everybody who's ever liked this character come buy our comic books now? It's like, dude, calm down. Like he's gonna be back. We all know he's gonna be back.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Like why are you bothering? Like, and that's exactly it. Like
it
doesn't make like if Superman dying meant that there will never be another Superman story.
That's
then all
so
of a
much
sudden,
more impactful.
All those old stories become precious and special in a way that they wouldn't be otherwise. Does that also mean that DC can't produce a new Superman, comic, and like maybe that's going to hamper Superman toy sales? Potentially. But in the world of what ifs and the world of, multiversal spin-offs, they could justify things. But in any event, what ended up happening at March of the Machine that bothered me, and I'm inclined to agree about the planar.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are like your like top? What are your 3 bad beats? Because like I said, mine like.
Yeah. I had a couple. So, like, when it comes to, I agree with you on the Planeswalker reversal thing. The fact that in the end, so by the way, spoiler warning for anybody who hasn't read the
Yeah,
story or who
spoiler.
isn't caught up. Just like heads up, like we are going to be going into depth on this if that isn't clear. The Planeswalker reversal thing with Ajani and Nissa just being like being waved, like their Phyrexia being waved away, like that bothered me. And the problem is they jumped through like 3 or 4 hoops to make sure that they could justify them being okay.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what we lost in all of that was Malira, who was a meaningful character, and I liked Malira. So okay, Malira died. That counts. That is a real sacrifice. However, ask a casual Magic fan who Malira is. A lot of people wouldn't be able to answer that because she was a plane-specific character. She wasn't one of the core planeswalkers. Meanwhile, Nissa and Ajani were. You ask a casual fan who Ajani is, they're going to have, or who Nissa is, like, Nissa was the face of, Duel of the Planeswalkers when that was released in, like, what, 2004 or whatever that was? Like, or 2010, whenever that, anyway. But, like, it's funny when people talk about, like, Jace being the face of Magic. It's like, well, I actually associate Chandra and Nissa with as much marketing material as Jace, because like right now, the MTG Arena loading screen has always been Chandra, or the login screen. It's a picture of Chandra. And like, so she's clearly an important character. Now, at no point did they claim that Chandra was gonna die here.
Right.
They kind of promised that Nissa would, because Nissa got completed. And when Nissa, Jace, and Vraska and Nahiri got completed, and I know Luca was in there too.
Yeah.
But like, Luca was always kind of a throwaway character. Like, he was a relatively new introduction. He was kind of a villain to begin with, and honestly, who cared about Luca? Like I don't mean to be flippant about it, but seriously, like, were there lower stakes in killing Luca? So that was part of it. Like, the casualties, we got Luca, so Luca bit it, Malira bit it,
Tamiyo bit it.
Kind of. So that is my number one bad beat. Tamiyo's death. So Tamiyo's completion in Kamigawa was a huge story beat, and the community grieved Tamiyo at that point. Okay, whether that was premature or not, it was funny because even back then, myself and tons of other people were just like, they're gonna find some way to reverse this. And in the end, they kind of did. So in the story beat, Tamiyo got friggin' sliced in half. Like, okay, her body is wrecked. It's over. She's gone. But then there was just, she happened to have in one of her bound scrolls this like ghostly backup of her conscious. So it's like, wait, so she's just here now? And on top of that, Nashi can touch it. So we have this situation where like Tamiyo's dead, but like in the next paragraph, they were like, but not really totally. Like, in all honesty, Tamiyo's death had the same emotional impact on me as a consumer, as a reader, as Landfall's death in Beerfest had. Which, if you're not familiar with that reference, they kill a major character in the movie Beerfest, and in the next scene, they introduce his twin brother, who had not been established, who says he would prefer to be called Landfill, with the punchline. But that's a comedy. It's played for a laugh, because they're pointing out how ridiculous, deaths in movies are. And in the end, like, one of the characters even says, it's almost like we didn't lose Landfill. It felt exactly like that, except it was trying to be genuine, and it wasn't going for the joke. And I was like, are you guys serious? And so now, any future writers can still write with Tamiyo. They could even do a card that's like Tamiyo's teachings or whatever, and it shows like the ghostly image of Tamiyo. Like, she's still around. She's still a factor. Like, she's not gone. So her death happened, but did it have any actual impact? Like, well, presumably this ghost isn't a planeswalker. All right, so they nerfed Tamiyo. They didn't kill Tamiyo. And that felt so cheap to me. Like, it honestly feels like they presented this gigantic plane-wide war, or this multiverse spanning war where millions of people were going to be killed. And in the end, we lost a handful of support characters, a planeswalker, everybody's least favorite planeswalker, and half of Tamiyo. I honestly feel like the body count at the end of the day was like, what, 3.5? It's
maybe,
like
maybe. Yeah, like 3.5 sounds right.
Well, and in the stories, Nahiri got. That's the other. Nahiri's my other one. Nahiri's death was decent. It was fine. In the
Mhm.
story, honestly, if you just read the story and don't look at any of the marketing materials, you think, okay, Nahiri was in a skyclave, completed, injured, and that skyclave collapsed to the ground,
Yep.
presumably just turning into a gigantic rubble pile. So, okay, it's very easy to assume, oh, Nahiri is just an oily smear in the bottom of a pile of rocks. But then they released the box art for the March of the Machine Aftermath epilogue boosters, and it shows Nahiri being perfectly fine with hands, clearly not completed, next to Nissa and Sarkhan, who has been completely absent this whole time, walking cool as like super cool and like confident into the middle distance as though there should be some kind of explosion behind them that they're not looking at. And it's just like, what? Like, how did that happen? How was that the aftermath of this story? It made no sense whatsoever.
I
So
feel like
that bothers me.
I
That
I
bothered me. And
absolutely
then,
agree.
yeah.
Absolutely
And then
agree.
my last beef that I have, I'll be quick about it,
No,
is the
no.
way that the invasion itself ended is Ren used Realmbreaker to like shift Zalfir and New Phyrexia. She give a little like flippy flop and change their locations within the multiverse or outside of the multiverse. It's very vague because Zalfir was literally phased out of existence.
Yep.
Realmbreaker could somehow reach it, but nothing else can. Like Planeswalkers couldn't. The multiverse itself was somehow not connected to Zalfir. And so by moving New Phyrexia away from the multiverse and somehow disconnecting it, all of a sudden all the invading Phyrexians lost signal.
Yeah.
So they no longer had orders and they all just shut down and stopped. They just powered down, it was over. And that felt like that was cheaper Deus Ex Machina than the Eagle showing up at the end of The Hobbit. I was just like, it's just like, and we're done. And it's like, we're just done? Just like that. We're just done. Like, so I thought that was really weak. I mean, honestly, they could have, what I would have loved to see, maybe I'm in the minority here and maybe it wouldn't have sold, therefore this would never in a million years have happened. What I would have loved to see is them to do like, at least the next 2 sets this year,
Mhm.
taking place within the invasion.
I would
There
have
were
loved that.
there were a ton of stories to follow. So give me not, instead of the wilds of Eldraine set as like a palate cleanser from the invasion, show me how Eldraine is responding to this threat. Give me characters, like show me where do the Kenrith twins come back to Eldraine to try to
Yeah.
defend it? I'm assuming they do. Tell me about that. What are they doing? How's it going? And give me some moments of them struggling, dealing with the Phyrexians on the plane. We could get a ton more Phyrexian creature types involved, and you could have done a cool deep dive on how that plane is reacting. And do
You
that 2 or 3 times, and then, like to your point, have a couple of planes get destroyed.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah, because that's what they
you know,
set up.
it is.
Yeah.
It's huge. And like speaking to the point of Eldraine, you know what? Show us that Ayara and Erebus got married.
Honest, how cool would that have been?
Right? I'm sorry. I'm one of the people that believes that that actually happened. For like randomly how she just got completed. It nothing else makes sense to me. It had to have been Erebus.
Yeah. And by the way, actually the short story, the side story that takes place on Eldraine, in March of the Machine was excellent. That's another
Mhm.
thing. I want to be abundantly clear. The short stories, the authors who actually were responsible for putting these events into words, all did a
Oh yeah.
fantastic job. All the stories are brilliantly written. But they had guidelines that they were given from corporate as to how things needed to resolve. And that's the part I take issue with. I think like the authors themselves did great work and the stories were riveting. Like I did get to the end. I wanted to know how it ended and I was just disappointed by the ending.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that in the aftermath, there is some tie-in that we'll figure out. Like I'm hoping like the marketing material aside that we've seen, like the hand in hand and everything. I'm kind of hoping that's just like imagery of like Nihiri, but she's not actually there, and they did actually like do something. Because then I would have been like, okay, it's like imaging product. Maybe this is like a thought of the past. I don't know. Maybe Sarkhan knows Nahiri and wants to think about being friends forever, skipping through a metal. I don't know, but I'm hoping as we move forward, the story there is at least some understanding of why the marketing material was like that, and we do see reasonable consequences. I have the feeling that consequences have been established, they've just not been revealed to us because the way that things ended doesn't feel real enough. It doesn't. It feels like we got off scotch free in a lot of
Mhm.
circumstances. Like random soldiers powering down. Okay, I get it. Connection for Phyrexia, sure, but like they're still technically there. We don't know the damage. We just kind of know things happen and a switch happened. But like, I'm really hoping Aftermath actually goes into like, no, there was like real damage. Like, give me that bit, and like, I would absolutely agree if March of the Machines was actually split into like 2 sets. I would love that. Like the
Mhm.
actual like invasion and then the battle and then the aftermath and done. But no, the story just started off great. Looking good. The side stories were awesome. They had hilarity. There were funny moments. I
Mhm.
tear jerked at a few, and then
Oh yeah.
it's like, yeah, okay, merge and swap and
Yeah.
yay.
And all 5 of the Praetors got super hard.
Yeah.
They're
I
all
did
toast.
appreciate that.
Yeah, they're all gone. So like new Phyrexia as we know it, not only did it like get yoinked out of existence, but additionally all 5 of the Praetors are just completely destroyed in one way or another. I thought the way that was handled in certain like Elishnorn's death, like I liked when Karn got to her. Like that was kind
Yeah,
of
that
cool.
was cool.
The idea of like Ginger Tax's forces turning on her at a point when they were already like losing the battle, that seemed a little contrived. Like I don't know, I didn't buy that. Seemed a little silly. Like it's like, wait,
Yeah,
Jin is smarter than that. I don't think he would do that, but whatever. Um, so that was like one, but that's a very small nit
it's
to
true.
pick compared to what else is going on. So that was whatever. But yeah, but all 5 Praetors are totally gone. However, there is a seed for future stories that was planted that I'm very intrigued by that they could take into fun places to have other really cool setups and horrible endings for in the future. And that is Jason Vraska.
Well, that's right. Yeah, because we don't really know what happened to them. They had some
Mm-mm.
kind of, if I recall, Veraska reminisce something that she learned from Lily about some. I won't go into the details. Read the story. But to- when 2 planeswalkers love each other very much, they disappear into the vast unknown of the multiverse, and we really don't know what happened, or if I guess even they were really completed. Like, were
Yeah,
they really completed?
I think so. I think
I
Vraska
I
was for sure.
I
Yeah.
think so too. But it's in like, how did they poof? But they're completed. How?
Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah,
So
there's
yeah, so well, Vraska, there's a whole story that took place, or like large portions of a story that took place in Vraska's head.
yeah,
That was part of the invasion on Ravnica, and that was really cool.
right.
I wanted to know more about the fights on Ravnica. That looked like they were having
Yeah.
that looked super interesting. Like I wanted to know more about that. And as it stands, it was like one side story, and that was that. It's like,
Yeah.
but come on, like like Ravnica's got a lot
Ravnica.
of stuff going on. Like that's a rife like moment. Like, could you imagine? I'm just realizing. All right. At this point, as of this recording, we haven't seen all of the March of the Machine cards yet.
True.
If there isn't a completed Nephilim, that will be a missed opportunity. Just saying.
If Nephilim came back.
Just saying. How dope would that be?
Better yet, completed Nephilim with the legendary type.
Yes. It's about time. It's about
It's
time.
about time. We need it. Make it happen. I know printing's already
Maybe,
happened, but make it happen.
yeah, exactly. It's yeah. Yeah. No, I want one of the team up cards.
Yeah.
And the title is just all the damn Nephilim. And it's legendary 5 colors. Let's go.
Did you imagine? It's just like all 5 Nephilim.
Just the huge like group shot of all the Nephilim. That'd be horrifying. Oh my goodness.
I kind of want this now.
Right? I don't need another 5 color commander deck, but
Just Nephilim.
yeah. Anyway, I think that'd be sweet. But so we do see Vraska in that moment leading the Phyrexian forces. She's clearly trying to quash the resistance. Like she is fighting for Phyrexia in that situation. And we have these like flashbacks to her past, which are really well done, very interesting. So okay, we get kind of an insight in her character and what she's trying to do. Also, by the way, the fight, this is kind of an aside, the fight on Zendikar, Nahiri's justification for going after Zendikar was like chilling. That was excellent. The idea of she's always wanted to protect her plane, and that's what she's doing here now. It's like, whoa. and Vraska kind of had a similar vibe going, where it's just like, well, this is Ravnica, this is home, so this must be, you know, this is where, you know, the Phyrexians are kind of she clearly sees them as kind of the ultimate Golgari, except will come out from under you know, from the sewers and will live upon the surface now. Like, it was really an interesting twist on this idea. And it makes you wonder, like, okay, how evil are the Phyrexians really? Well, in actuality, super.
Yeah,
But, you
extremely,
know,
yeah, but
extremely, yeah. Yeah, as long as you enjoy free will, then
yeah.
we should probably not be super down with Phyrexia. But regardless of that. So in the end, though, she's wounded in the fight, but her body's not recovered.
Yeah.
And we've learned if you don't see a dead body, they're not dead. That's just the rule. You know, and honestly, like with Elspeth, which is like the key example of that in this set, you know, there was no body.
Yep.
There's no justification for how she could possibly be alive, but she is, and she's an angel now.
Yeah.
So magic, woot. Which whatever. Like honestly, that one they telegraphed from a mile away.
Oh, 100%.
The moment she disappeared, it's like, oh, she's coming back. Like, yeah.
They,
But so that was even that one was whatever. Like I was unsatisfied by that story beat, but I saw it coming so far away. I just like whatever, it's fine.
no, that was played up over time. Like we knew she's
Mhm.
always had that vibe.
Well, and she was the protagonist of Phyrexia All Will Be One. Like she was one of the primary protagonists in the stories, and she didn't have a card in the set. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, so she's got a card in the next set. Got it. Like it was super obvious. But so Vraska disappeared, and Jace pieced out really early on
Mhm.
in the story, and we just never saw him again. He never came back. So we have these two planeswalkers who were theoretically completed, who love each other, who are off somewhere. And there are theories right now about whether or not Jace was actually completed entirely, or like whether or not he was ever really in Phyrexia's control, because as he was turning, he got stabbed by Luxior.
Yep.
Which is a sword that's like made of Halo. So like, which we know is one of the only like established ways to combat Phyresis when it's trying to take hold of you.
Yeah, it's got the good stuff.
It's got the good stuff, exactly. So, and he had the good stuff injected into his chest.
Oh,
Like, yeah, oh yeah, hook me like, So the theory that like he was kind of playing along with Norn and took the first opportunity to get the hell out of there. Okay, like there might be some viability there, but the oil was in him doing stuff. You know, he had the little the parts. He had some mechanical pieces. So what does that mean exactly? I don't know. Hopefully we'll see. But what I am expecting, I'm fully expecting them to bring Phyrexia back at some point in the future, because they're a classic villain. There's no way they're going to completely delete them from history. And I think they're going to do it with Jace and Vraska as the new like big bads.
ooh,
I'm expecting
like
just that's what I want to see personally.
I would like that.
I think that would be an interesting way to bring them back. Probably not for another couple years. Like they've got stuff they're going to do in the meantime, I would imagine. But the seeds were planted for the oil to still be out there infecting these people. And if I'm not mistaken, the oil like requires some kind of leader to like direct it. Hence, like Norn and the plane disappearing was able to undo the invasion. So, I mean, what's a stronger will than Jace to potentially take over the oil? So I think that would be a cool way to take it. And that gives Wizards of the Coast, their creative team and their Hasbro shareholders, an opportunity to bring back a known compelling villain. Because that's the thing with these stories. The reason that I am unhappy in general with the conclusion and the lack of stakes is because the good guys completely won and there were minimal casualties. I didn't have emotional moments. And on top of that, they undid emotional moments I had a few months ago.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing.
I guess you could say they negated it.
I see what you did there.
I'm still angry that like, I love that card art. I'm sad it's on negate.
Yeah, exactly. The card art sums it up nicely, and the flavor text is great. Like, it's like, okay, it's this moment where it's the moment where Malira sacrifices herself to save Ajani. Malira's not in the art, which is whatever, and it's on a bulk common reprint. Like, really? It's it's wild. It's wild. But yeah.
I guess Malira was actually not Selesnya. She was blue all along.
She was blue all along, exactly. Yeah, she's been in band this whole time. But yeah, so yeah, exactly. The Selesnya, yeah, the white aligned planeswalker who's been depicted as Selesnya getting saved by the Selesnya, who's been presented as mono green.
Yep.
Character was represented on a blue card.
Blue, yeah.
I know Teferi was there, but like, come on. Anyway, so yeah, but the thing about it is, these stories that are like written by committee with marketability in mind are safe. That is what they always are, and they always have been. For somebody, for many people, Ajani is their favorite character. And that's why Ajani's completion was a notable big deal.
Yep.
Like, people responded to that. People reacted to it. And it was noteworthy and impactful. Ajani being saved allows them to print future Ajani cards that will sell cards to people who are big Ajani fans.
Yep.
So it is the safe move to keep him around, which keeps cynical story nerds like me very upset, because I had an emotional moment where I had to say goodbye to this guy. And now you're saying my emotional moment didn't count. Like, that sucks. I don't like that. But they're doing the exact same thing with the villains. So, like,
Sure.
yeah, if you're a huge Elishnorn fan or a huge Sheldred fan, well, Telflock, they got. But if you like Phyrexia in general, also, like, in Phyrexia will be one that created the whole Phyrexian language.
Yeah.
And, like, created all this history and interesting lore around Phyrexia. There's no way that
No,
they're
there's
done
no
with
way
that.
it's done. It's coming. It's
Yeah.
got to come back.
They're gonna bring it back. There's no way they spent that much. I mean, they hired linguists to like create, and they did
yeah.
a great job too. By the way, like, the language is really deep and intense. It's not just like a simple like cipher.
No,
It's not like this is A in Phyrexia. No, it's like really intense. Like, they have their own alphabet, their own structure. Honestly, every card that depicts Phyrexian isn't even doing it accurately because it's printed horizontally.
Yeah.
When in
should be.
fact Phyrexian is written vertically. And their numerals are like base 14 or something like that, not base 10, which is like wild. So, like, it is very alien and very different and really cool. There's no way that they're not going to go back to that. There's no way they're not going to do something with Phyrexia again, which is the safe move because they're a good villain. In these ongoing stories that have no end in sight, killing a good villain is just as damaging to the storytellers as killing a good hero.
Absolutely.
You know? So, yeah. So there will be... Phyrexia is coming back. There's no way they're not.
Yeah. All will be one.
All will be one, exactly. We'll get there. It took They're playing the long game. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And actually, come to think of it, in Magic's history, I can think of like three really, like, or at least in recent history, I can think of three big bads. We got Phyrexia,
Yep.
we've got Eldrazi, and we got Nicol Bolas.
Yep.
I know there are a lot of like plane-specific villains that we've seen, especially in Dominaria, just because a lot of stories have been there.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm wondering, who do you think the next big villain's gonna be? What's the next big arc?
That's the next big arc. I have a feeling it's going to get established. I have a sneaking suspicion. I believe there's a link between why we're seeing Ixalan and Eldraine. And I have an idea that there's a tie-in between the two that we've been exposed to, but we're not realizing yet. Because, like, if we think about it, Ixalan you used to never be able to planeswalk away from. Now you can. Huatli and all the primals are still there. I mean, R.I.P. Atali, but
I know.
I'm sad about my boy, but that's okay. It's the
I know. I loved it. I loved Atali. That new card is dope, though. So we're gonna have fun with it.
Good. Well, like, Angrath has not been like so. Sarkhan we don't see until Aftermath. Angrath has not been mentioned at all, and Angrath was a very prominent head in Ixalan for getting trapped there, and like. Wholesome Minotaur dad wants to get back to his daughters, probably and hopefully. I'm hoping he got back to Fam Jam and he's not, completed and we find out gone in anything or killed off screen. I'd be sad, but I have a suspicion there is a specific reason they did Ixalan and Eldraine, and there is a tie-in that we're gonna find out about there. I don't think it has anything to do with the Eldrazi or with Bolas. I think Bolas is gonna be set aside still for a while, despite we've kind of seen a little bit of art with him. But no, I have a feeling there's some tie-in between the world of the Fae and the ancient world of Ixalan. I don't know what that is yet, but
yeah, I'm not sure either. Well, and it's also it is interesting that both of those planes are featured on notable cards in March of the Machine, and they both had side stories in March of the Machine as well.
Exactly.
While they're getting their own sets coming up. So, yeah, you might be onto something there. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. And also, can we just talk like a slight part for the story? The fact they went to the miniature plane as Segothia. I love that. I wanted to add.
They did it.
This is one thing in the story that I'm a little sad didn't get answered. So I understand everything on Segothia is small,
Mhm.
but when the Phyrexians invade, do the Phyrexians shrink down to the size of Segothia, or is it like this little Segothia octopus fighting against the giant realm breaker? That never got answered. I don't think.
Well, according to the art, it looks like they don't. Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
the artwork on the Invasion of Segovia card is showing like the sea serpents, which according to the mechanics are 1/1 krakens.
Yeah,
So like, okay, a creature type usually associated with big things being small. I think that's fun. I like it.
it is.
Kind of fits, right? And they're like, and the Phyrexian that we see in the artwork, you only see their foot and ankle. It looks like
Yeah.
they're wading through an ocean, which is hilarious. So it looks like the Phyrexians don't shrink down, even though planeswalkers who visited did.
Yeah, that's the
Which,
weird thing.
yeah, it's pretty wild. Like the logic kind of breaks down when you really stop and look at it. You know, you get to, with all trying to determine logic of any fantasy universe, you
Absolutely.
will eventually get to the point where I don't know, it's magic, shut up. Like, and I think with Segovia you get there a little faster than you do with some other things. Um which, you know,
Yeah.
but and so like we know planeswalkers shrink down when they get there, like automatically. The plane does it when they planeswalk in.
Yep.
So allegedly or apparently the portals that the Phyrexians used to send the invading forces in, like bypassed whatever auto shrink thing they had, and as a result, they came in full size, which is kind of
Yeah.
funny. I think that's the idea. Then it also opens up the other question of like, wait, if planeswalkers visited there, how did they know they were small?
Yeah.
Like, how did they know they shrunk?
That's what I'm wondering. Like that's
Mhm.
it's like it's a side story bit, but like I want to know
Yeah.
more. Give me a Sigothian set. Give me like a 5-mana 3/3 that's like depicted as this giant thing, but it's like even a 5-mana 2/2 Kraken, but it's got this
Yeah.
awesome ETB. I love it. It's
Well,
a
it's
fun.
funny. Yeah, apparently one of the things, according to the MTG Wiki, I did a little bit of research on Segovia recently. And apparently the Segovian Leviathan was like the biggest creature in their
Yes.
oceans. That's absolutely massive by everyone's recollection. It's apparently about the size of an elephant in our world, to give you an idea, a sense of scale. Which, like, all right, like elephants are big, but they're not
Yeah.
like gigantic sea monster big, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so all right, and there is a Segovian Leviathan card that was originally
Yes.
printed in Legends, which is a 5-mana island walk 3/3.
3/3. Again, just I want to see 5-mana 3/3s. Let me have some
5-mana 3/3. It's beautiful. I love it. Yeah.
March of the Weenies.
Oh, 100%. No, honestly, they could have given me a whole set in Segovia. I would have been so down. Like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, the biggest creatures are 3/3. Everything is tiny. And, yeah. Honestly, you could do a lot of fun stuff with, like, Convoke and tokens. And, like, okay,
yeah.
well, I mean, we have Convoke in March.
We
But, like, hopefully there are a couple of other cards that feature
I'm
Segovia.
hoping.
That would be, I hope there are more. Because it's a fun setting that, like, if
wanna
we
see-
get the one battle, sure, we got a battle. But
I want to see more of it.
I want to see more of it, too. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
But yeah.
Yeah.
What is your bad beat with the mom story? Did you like it? Were you a fan? Were you happy on how the planeswalkers met their end and or got saved, or were burned to a crisp and carried off by a giant vulture bird dinosaur thing? Let us know in the comments down below. With that, Ham, my dude, where can the people find you?
Yeah, so I do make various and sundry contents on the internet. The reason that I was doing research for Segovia was actually for an episode of my solo podcast, which is available on my YouTube channel. So multi-plug. That podcast is called Overthinking MTG, where I try to put out at least 3 episodes a week where I look at individual Magic cards, and that's how I've been handling spoilers this time around. Is I've just been like highlighting individual ones, and asking basically, are they good? How do they work? How cool is this? So if that's the thing, it's available Overthinking MTG on your favorite podcast app of choice. And over on my YouTube channel, Hamhocks42. I also stream over on Twitch, which is the part of content that I actually enjoy doing. Anyway, sorry, at the risk of... It's my favorite part, I should say. I love live streaming.
Ham
It's a
doesn't
blast.
like
So,
YouTube confirmed.
it's not that I don't like YouTube, but YouTube's fine. It's just, it's funny. There are certain things, like people say that like, oh, when you're doing, you know, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And it's like, oh man, if I could just stream for like 8 hours a day
Yeah, seriously.
and make a living wage, that would 100% apply. Like, YouTube's still a better job than I've had in most other places, but it still kind of feels like work. Anyway, But sorry, I don't need to go that existential. But yes, I'm over there, Hamhocks42. If you Google search Hamhocks42, I'm the only one out there. That's why I put that awkward number in the name. So anyway, hope to see you in all those places. So Astros, how about you, my friend? Where can people find you on the internet, and what can they expect to find when they get there?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. At Astralsflame, I'm always doing something with Jund or Dragons or jamming in some weird standard brews or explorer brews. I'm trying to a few non-invoke despair decks this week, so I think this meta doesn't need invoke despair anymore, and I'm ready to prove it. And you should be playing Junji,
Ooh.
so I'm gonna see how that goes.
That's really, it's funny you mentioned that. I have Genji in one of my decks, and it actually popped
Let's
off the other day. It's
go.
like, wait a minute, I think this is onto something here. I love it.
Junji, I'm excited. Junji, I wish Junji had a card. That's the backtrack, but
Oh,
Junji should have been a partner. But that's
true.
anyways.
Yeah, Hitotsugu teamed up with Kyrie, which is cool. Like
Yeah.
Kyrie getting represented, rock on, but could have been Genji.
Could have been Junji. Would have been awesome
Yeah.
if it was Junji. But yeah, you can find me there at Astralsflame, doing the Twitch stream. We got the YouTube videos, and I'm gonna have some vacation stuff coming up. So episodes will be a little bit sporadic for the next couple weeks as back and forth. But you know, the landlords will always be here. So make sure to drop us a follow, get the heads up on our next listing, and until next time, we are your landlords.